Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Sri Tips here, and what I have today is this is some Karat stuff, 14K. There's a few pieces of 18K stuff in here too, small pieces. And then over here I've got some 10K material. So what we're going to do is put a melt dish up here. We're going to add the 14K material to this melt dish. And you can see we've got 127.7 grams of 14K. Now we'll zero this out. Add our 10K stuff to this melt dish. And you can see here we've got 21.7 grams of 10K material. Now I've calculated I need about 175 grams of sterling silver. And I've got some pieces of flatware here that's made of sterling. I've got 178 grams. That's close enough. So we're going to take this out now and quart this gold with this sterling silver. Now we're going to rinse it multiple times with distilled water to get all the tap water off of there. Alright, we should be ready now to take this out and start pulling the silver and the base metals out of there with hot dilute nitric acid boils. Here's our unquarted gold in a clean beaker. That tall metal can that I used to pour this into the water does a fine job of breaking that up into small pieces for me. So what we'll do now is I've got some used dilute nitric acid from a previous refining. What we'll do is pour this in here. We're going to start pulling the silver and the base metals out of this unquarted gold with hot dilute nitric acid boils. Alright, this will be nitric boil number 1. Now what we'll do is put this up on the heat and start pulling the silver and the base metals out of here with that hot dilute nitric acid. This is nitric boil number 3, and what we're going to do is pour this off into our silver jar. This is always kind of spooky to watch because of the amount of there's plenty of nitric still left in here, but most of it's been consumed by the reaction. So now we're going to consume the rest of the nitric on these pieces of sterling silver that I have in my silver jar here. And somebody said, why don't we just leave the nitric to boil in there? I guess we could do that, but it would take so long. The nitric acid in here has become expended. It's weak and it can't penetrate into those pieces of gold, as well as fresh nitric acid can. So what I'm going to do is rinse this out. And now what we'll do is pour in some fresh nitric acid, some water first, stick it up on the heat, add some fresh nitric acid, and this will be nitric acid boil number, what is it, number 4. This is nitric boil number 4. We're going to go ahead and pour this off. Let's go ahead and try to pour this off now. This is nitric boil number 4. We're pouring off into our silver jar. There's lots of active nitric acid in there. As you can see, those red fumes are nitrogen dioxide. Can't breathe this. This has got to be done in a fume hood. There's no way I'd be able to do that in my backyard. We'll set this back. Let's look at the gold. It's looking real good. We'll set this back up on the heat now. You notice the beaker up here has got some light blue solution in it. It's starting to lighten up. That's because most of the silver and the base metals are starting to become poured out of here. I gotta do this because I got the other camera running. We're gonna pour this off into our silver jar. It's going to have a ton of excess nitric in here. I used too much nitric on this nitric boil. I didn't need that much. Starts to look like it's going to come over. I can add some water to it, and that'll calm down the reaction a little bit. All right, we're getting the silver pulled out of this gold now. looks like in there. Looks really good. Now what we'll do is we add some water. Never want to set a dry beaker on your heating pad. I did that once and cracked the beaker. So you always add a little bit of water before we set it up there. And now we'll add some nitric. That's enough. And this will be nitric boil number 6. I believe our 6th nitric acid boil is complete. I got a hankering to do one more, but if you look at that solution in there, it does look, let's see here, it's got a little bit of a blue tint to it. I'm gonna chance it. I like to go 7 boils with this amount of gold, but I'm going to chance it here. We're going to call it after just 6 boils. I like that solution to be absolutely colorless before we proceed to the next step. So we might end up paying for this with a bunch of silver chloride in our gold. What I'm going to do, let me rinse it one more time here. Rinse it off real good. And now what we'll do is I'm going to put just plain distilled water in here and boil it for a little bit in just plain distilled water. I'm going to put a fresh clean lid on here. I have had my gold get contaminated by silver that clings to the lid that I had on there when I was doing the nitric boils. So I put a clean lid on there to avoid that. I've had this boiling in just plain distilled water now for about a few minutes, I guess. What we'll do is pour this off into the silver jar. And here's what our gold is looking like so far. The gold down in that beaker right there is very close to 3/9 fine, just like it is. That's how effective in quarting with silver and pulling with hot dilute nitric treatments is at getting the gold cleaned up. All right, this is about 3 ounces of gold. So I'm adding some hydrochloric acid. That was about 500 milliliters. Now what we'll do is add some sulfuric acid, and what this will do is this will precipitate out any lead that may be present. All right, I've got a little beaker here. I think what we're going to do for this amount of gold, about 3 troy ounces, we're going to add nitric acid. I'm going to put about 40 milliliters in this little beaker. And now we're going to add that right on in. and start dissolving this gold. I'm going to add some heat down here. So we've got 500 milliliters of hydrochloric acid in there, about 1 milliliter of sulfuric acid, and I just added 40 milliliters of nitric acid. I'm going to try to get this gold to dissolve completely. All the fumes have cleared up in here. We still got a few bits of gold down in the bottom of the beaker. So what I'm going to do is add small doses. I'm talking about 1/4 of a milliliter in here. And let's try to get the rest of this gold to go in solution. You can see it's highly reactive because it's so hot. Just put a few drops in there. It won't take much to get the rest of this gold to go back in solution. Got everything to go into solution. I'm going to pull this down off the heat now. Let it cool off. Let's get some ice in here. Let's see if we can get this solution cooled down. Here you can see how clean this solution is. Clear and bright. Not much junk in the filter. And that's a testament to how effective in coating with silver and pulling the silver and the base metals back out with that nitric acid is at getting this gold cleaned up. I'm going to pull the funnel off of there. Get it ready for precipitation. Oh, here's what the filter looks like. It's got a little bit of trash in it, but Not much. Okay, I've rinsed the beaker off real good. What we'll do now is get set up to do the precipitation. Let's get down in here and do a stannous test. We should do this with every refining that we do, just to make sure that we've got gold in solution. That dark stain verifies that we've got gold in solution. Here we go. Let's precipitate out the gold now with some stump out. I hope this has got a spoon in it. It does not, so I'm just going to pour it in a little bit at a time and precipitate out our pure gold. Just occurred to me I forgot to add ice, and I've got about 3 troy ounces, so we might get a little heat with this. That shouldn't be a problem. Ice will keep it cool during the precipitation. There we go. We're starting to get some white foam up on top. That's an indication that we've got all the gold precipitated out of our solution. Let me give this a little swirl. I've allowed the gold to settle, and so what we'll do now is get our temporary waste container up here, and we'll pour off this waste into that container, and then I'll use some distilled water and rinse it several times with some distilled water. Get the chemicals off of there. And now that we've got it rinsed, what I'll do is add some hydrochloric acid, about 200 milliliters. This always seems to help clean that gold up nicely for me. We'll put it up on a heating pad and let it boil. Let's go ahead and pour this off. All right, this is looking real good now. Okay, what I'll do is I'll set our gold back up here on our hot plate. I'm going to add some sulfuric, some hydrochloric acid, and then about 40 milliliters of nitric acid. And we're going to redissolve the gold a second time. Here we go. Let's pull this down off the heat and let this cool off. It's been allowed to cool a little bit. We're going to cool it off real good though with some ice in here. Filter this gold. Our solution is clear and bright. Nothing in the filter. Nice and clean. This second refining really cleans the gold up very, very nice. Let me get this filter off of here. The filter's clean as a whistle. Just beautiful. Let's do the precipitation now. Get set up for this. Got a clean beaker. It's the same one we've been using. I just cleaned it up real good. Transfer our solution. Nice and clean. Transfer it into our beaker here. Somebody said they liked rinsing out the flask, so I'll include that in the shot. Usually takes 3 rinses to get all the gold out of here. Here we go. I'm going to skip the ice. We're going to add some stump out and precipitate the gold. Here we go. First spoon going in right now. Boom. That's awesome. I'm trying to get the best light angle here. Let's put another spoon of our stump out in here. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. There's white foam on the top. I'm going to add another half spoon here. That should do it. I'm going to give this a stir. And that should be a complete precipitation. I've allowed the gold to settle. What we'll do is get the waste container up here, pour the waste off, and then I'll rinse the gold over and over with some distilled water. And I think we're going to forego and skip the hydrochloric acid boil at this point. This is the second refining, and this gold is very clean, so I don't think we need to do a hydrochloric acid boil. Now we'll get a melt dish up here, and I'll carefully transfer the gold powder into a melt dish. It's got a little bit of liquid in it. And we'll get that out in just a second. I use a squirt bottle to get that stubborn piece that wants to stick to the bottom of the beaker there. We'll rinse it down into the melt dish. Got it all in there. Now I'll take that pipette and we'll remove the excess water from the melt dish. It's not very much, just a little bit. And now what we'll do is we'll take the gold over here to the melt table and melt us up a pure gold ingot. Here's the pure gold bar that we just melted. It looks spectacular. It's got one little fuzzy spot right there in the middle, but that doesn't hurt anything. It's high purity gold and it looks just beautiful. Okay, we were expecting 83.8 grams as an estimated yield. Let's see what the actual yield is here. Actual yield is 82.1 grams, which is very close. That's about what we can expect from this amount of carat scrap. We started on this at 7:30 a.m. It's now 7:30 p.m. So it took us about 12 hours to go from carat scrap to pure gold bar. Okay, this will conclude the video. I'd like to thank everyone for watching.